What is up, my brothers and sisters, my agents of respect? It's your boy TreJuanJohnson back with another episode of the No Disrespect But podcast. Before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Always feel free to comment. Just please make sure you keep those comments respectful. And then if you're interested in supporting your favorite podcaster, yours truly, my Cash app will be in the episode description. So make sure you guys look out for that. Look, couldn't really do it last week. Thought about it, but need a little time. And the reason for that is because my boy Pop, my go Popovich retired. And if you guys keep up with my Twitter page, the No Disrespect But Twitter page at But Disrespect on Twitter/X, or my personal page at Future NBA Gov, you guys knew that going into this week, I wanted the first episode in May to be about um, the undervalued greatness of Steph Curry. And trust me, y'all, I will get to that. But when my guy, after experiencing another medical setback, coming back from his initial stroke during the season, then having another medical episode, maybe a few weeks ago, when Coach Pop announced that he was stepping down as the Spurs head coach and was just gonna take on his presidential duties as team president, I was a little sad. So this episode, man, is like it ain't gonna be long, but this is just how, if you guys know me, I've been a Spurs fan pretty much majority of my life, but since I was 4 years old, and Pop's been a part of all of that. And like I said, I got my guys with me, my big three, got Manu with me, um, got got my boy TP9 Tony with me, um, and then of course my goat got Timmy with me. So you know, it's been those three guys at certain points, obviously Tim, and then incoming Manu and Tony, and what they meant for this franchise. But uh, Coach Pop meant a lot to the franchise. He meant a lot to those players whose jerseys I just showed. He meant a lot to the city and the community of San Antonio, to the state of Texas. They give many regards to our country. He served as the head coach of the men's Olympic basketball team, but having served his country and everything he stood for as a military man and a guy that supported our troops and supported our country and always spoke to the values we should always uphold. And look, we know what he was to the NBA, to the players, to uh, the league office, to all of the coaches. His coaching tree is immense. And look, we can talk about the wins, all-time league winning coach. We can talk about the championships, five-time NBA champion, I think three-time NBA coach of the year. Um, what he did for that franchise in San Antonio, um, and bringing them from the brink of, looking like they were going to fall off and not and just kind of be the team that was good but never good enough. And getting them over the hump and doing it on a consistent basis. With 20 years in a row, making the playoffs, something like that. And we know the latter years weren't the best with us going through a rebuild and everything, but he always stayed that positive guy, the guy that demanded you be coached and coached the hell out of you. So we know about the wins, the championships, and what he meant. But for me, like I said, I've this guy, this old man has been a part of my life and just my love for the game of basketball again since I was 4 years old. And uh, there's a lot of favorite moments. I think watching him coach over the years, we always think about I need to need a little nasty. Him telling that to the Spurs as he was talking to them in their series and that becoming the tagline with some shirts. We know the hack of Shaq and him fouling Shaq in the season opener, the first right after the inbound and just kind of doing a thumbs up. Um, you know, I think there's so many things, but for me, I think first my love of basketball, right? I think watching the way he coached, the way he led uh, the young men and men in his leadership, I think that allowed me to be a good player. I think that allowed me to be a coachable player. Wasn't always pretty. He showed a lot of tough love, and I know in my athletic career I experienced some tough love from my coaches, but I think I got a perspective that tough love didn't mean lack of love, and there was also a such thing as too much tough love, and that it could be get out of hand. And so, being able to understand that at a young age, coming up in athletics and coming from a sports family, um, and just trying to navigate what that looked like for me and how my personal development as an athlete and as a person, a young man, what that looked like. Just having that grasp at a young age and being able to see that, see a guy who wasn't scared to coach, wasn't scared to be the bad guy, especially when you had a top five player at his time and at his peak, and Tim Duncan, having to take on an admiral in David Robinson, who, when Tim was drafted, he was coming off a serious injury, right? And to be able to, I won't say necessarily take a back seat, but to be able to communicate that, hey, this guy might be our future, but you're still part of our now, and we lean on you. And how to still get the most out of David Robinson, the Admiral, among some of the other veterans, like Avery Johnson. Shout out to his nephew and my boy Andre Johnson Jr. killing it on Fox 8 right now too. But um, Avery Johnson, Sean Elliott, some of those guys, and then of course having Timmy in there, and then being able when Timmy was at his peak, right, and you're bringing Manu in, and you're bringing in Tony, and knowing where the league was going, and understanding that, hey, Timmy, you're still our best player. Everything runs through you, but things have to look a different way. We have to get Manu, we have to get Tony a few more touches in the pick and roll game, get their confidence up, things like that. Willing to have those conversations with um, the most prominent beings. And I know for me that allowed me to have conversations with teammates, with coaches, with teachers, with friends of, if it's something that I'm doing that isn't yielding to the leading to the best results, or if there's something we need to change or need to do, or you know, can I be selfless? Um, I was known for being a scorer. That's what I really like to do. But there were times where, hey, me scoring a lot of points and us losing showed me that, hey, sometimes it's not just about me. Most times it's not about me. It's about what's best for the team. And if me making some key shots, but also allowing my teammates to be great at what they do and what their respective roles are to give us the best chance to win games, that was something I learned for Pop. I learned how to be adaptable. Um, I talked a little bit about how, you go from David Robinson and doing the Twin Tower thing with him and Timmy, and then you're bringing in Tony and Manu, and as they grow in their games, and the style of the NBA is less get up on the block and post up and slow down, but it's starting to speed up, and there's a level of pick and roll basketball, pick and pop. Um, just the way he was able to adapt, and it seemed like always be a step ahead. Everybody gives the Warriors credit for um the surge of the three ball, right, in the NBA. But people forget that 2014 San Antonio Spurs team really fit that bill. Obviously, Golden State made it a little bit different because they took it to another level, right? But I think we forget that Pop kind of transformed that, and wanted guys to take more of the three ball and make that part of our game, and guys like Gary Neal and Danny Green and Patty Mills being able to carve out a career for themselves because of that style of basketball. And, it always seemed like he was just one step ahead of where the NBA was going, and being able to capitalize on that. And so when you're growing up and you're thinking about, okay, the world's constantly changing. How do I fit in it? Is it always how I intended it to be? No, but how can I adapt? How can I always be a little bit ahead of the curve, to make sure that I'm building the skills, I'm learning the lessons that's going to help me. Because if I'm stuck to one thing and I want to commit to one thing, especially when that one thing is working right, is that the best thing? Is that the best course of action? It might be working for you right now. It might be working in the short term, but in the long term, things will change. And are you prepared for that change? And watching the way Coach Pop led that team and always tried to, just be ahead of the curve and where the NBA was going, and getting his guys, especially his stars, to buy into that. I mean, we talk about what Tony and Manu and them taking a little bit over from Timmy, but even to have the forethought of knowing that a kid that was really just a role player at the time, and Kawhi Leonard was the guy that, hey, we eventually have to build this thing around. It didn't always work out, right? Because we know what happened with that, but still understanding that, hey, you guys are our past and our present, but this guy's our future. And how do we give that up? And so Tony and Manu being willing to give up that mantle the same way Timmy was willing to give it up to them, the same way David Robinson was willing to give it up, for him. And so, that goes to being a good teammate. I think that's something just from my observation of watching Pop for, at this point 26 years of my life. Um, and being able to navigate that was really, exciting. So, I think, one of my biggest regrets is I never really got to watch the Spurs in San Antonio, but of course, being in New Orleans, got to watch them in games that way. And, got to shout out the love of my life, my wife. She, a few years ago when we were in Georgia, um, she got me some really good seats. This was right before I became a season ticket holder. One of the reasons why I became a Hawks season ticket holder, because of the seats we got. They were really good. They were right by the Spurs tunnel. And so when they came out, got to see everybody. That's also when Tim Duncan was one of the lead assistants for the team, which was really great. And, I remember after the game, got a win. And, I got a chance to shake, Coach Pop's hand, because I was right there, that close, and that was an exciting moment for me. Obviously, I mean, I felt like a kid again. Either I'm a grown ass man. I don't think a grown man should be that excited, right? But, um, it's like meeting a role model, almost a father figure or a grandfather figure. And so that was really exciting, to have that experience. And so I credit my wife for, allowing me to have that moment, and just letting me enjoy that, allowing me to be vulnerable in that state, be a kid again. And so that's something that definitely stands out for me. Not that I ever really had a conversation with Pop or like a true interaction, but that moment is something that I'll never forget. And I'm glad I at least got to have that, um, just in my time as a Spurs fan, and a fan of Coach Pop. And, you know, when you think about it, it's been crazy just with my favorite sports teams. Sean Payton retired, then came back a year later, but that was something to navigate, losing him in the Saints organization. Coach K, retiring from Duke, Coach Saban retiring from Alabama, and now Coach Pop, retiring as head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. And I know Mitch Johnson has gotten his blessing, has gotten Wimby's blessing, and so we're excited, for that road, and what Mitch can do. And look, I'm gonna give him the same love and support and admiration, that I gave Pop, but at the same time, understand that it has to be earned. I think that, you know the I didn't know it at the time, but Coach Pop was earning my fandom, by being, the type of leader he was, by yielding the type of results that they were yielding, especially in their heyday as the head coach of the San Antonio Spurs. And, um, I don't know, man. Like, He's gonna be missed. I know I'm gonna miss him. It's and you get a little sad, right? Because it wasn't necessarily on his own terms. Health played a big part in this. We forget that he had signed a 5-year extension when Wimby was drafted, and we were looking forward to that, knowing that about year 3, year 4 was when the Wimby era really was going to take off, and us building a roster around him, and of course having the GOAT back in the playoffs. Um, that was going to be exciting, and you almost feel cheated in a way, especially this season. I mean, uh, Pop going out with the stroke, and then Wimby uh, with the blood clots, and you almost feel cheated a little bit, but at the same time, just not choosing not to be selfish and look at it that way, but understanding that hey, this might not have been the way Coach Pop wanted to go out, but the fact that even despite the health issues, the recent health issues, he still has his faculties about him. He's still going to be around. He was still in the good spirits. He's still him. And to be able to walk away, still having that intact, and choosing family, choosing health and life. But I think family. And he lost his wife a few years ago. His best friend, his wife and best friend a few years ago, and being able to hang with his children, his grandchildren, and just be that for them, be a dad, be a grandfather. Um, I would think that that's meaningful for him, and in that regard, how could you not be excited for what's next for well, I guess not Coach Pop anymore, but El Jefe, right? Um, you're going to be excited for that, and you can't help but be happy for the man. I think the same thing when Coach Saban retired. It hurt. It was kind of sad. It was confusing. It was scary in that time. But watching him over the course of last season and being able to enjoy his time on college game day and the commercials and the speaking engagements, he looked like a new man. He looked refreshed. He looked happy. Not that he wasn't happy at Alabama in coaching, but it was just a different level of happiness, more comfort, more peace. And I pray that Coach Pop finds that. I hope he has that. Um, I hope that he knows just as much as he loves the game, um, and how much he gave, that the game loves him. And he will always be loved and respected for who he is and what he always stood for. And there's some exciting times for the Spurs, and I know it doesn't feel that way right now, but um, Pop gave us what he could. He gave us everything he could, and now it's time for him to pour that back into his family, his personal life. And if it's half as good as he was as a coach, we know, it's going to be phenomenal. And so I'm excited for what it looks like for him on the other side of things. And I'm gonna miss him. I miss seeing him on the sidelines when the Spurs have games on TV or am I watching on streaming. I'm gonna miss the interactions that not just our players but also opposing players have with him. A guy that loved everybody. As much as sometimes as us as fans, we wanna I don't want to say hate, but just jeer and get on guys in the league. Everybody respected Pop. Whether it was a layup line or in the game line, you saw guys just waiting in line to hug him and speak with him. And that's special. That's something we shouldn't forget. That it wasn't just about what he did for the San Antonio Spurs, what he did for the league, but what he means to players and what he means to coaches and guys that just love this game so much and see it as a privilege and a blessing to say that they knew him, that they have had experiences with him. Um, and look, y'all know my aspiration and what I aim to do, and that's being, when I say future NBA Gov, that ain't just a random team in the NBA. It's my San Antonio Spurs, and uh, I hope and I pray that I get that done in enough time to be able to experience Pop in real time. I have an opportunity to really know him as a colleague, and hopefully as a friend, and let him know how much of a mentor, albeit far away and not even understanding or even knowing the impact he's had on my life, but um, but how important he is to me, and how I walk through this life and the type of man I want to be. And hey, I wanna go on one of the the wine dates too, and have some of the great wine that so many players and coaches and colleagues have talked about in that experience. I want to be able to have that experience with Pop, and time's running out for some of those things, but I pray I have that opportunity in the near future, to enjoy that, and to really get to know the man that I've gotten to know from afar, but that so many people close to him rave about. So, to Coach Pop, man, love you, appreciate you, thank you um, for lessons that you taught me when you didn't even know I was in the classroom, and um, appreciate it. Wish you the best in the team president role, and focusing on that, but also wish you the best in focusing on your children and your grandchildren and your family and close and loved ones. We're gonna miss you. We know you're always part of Spurs, Spurs Nation, a Spur for life. Um, that's something you've always instilled in guys that came through our organization, men and women, from the coach, from every aspect of personnel. You made it known that even if they were in your care for 3 months or 3 weeks, they were a Spur for life. And just want to reiterate that that's what you are and will always be, a Spur for life. So go Spurs, go! Thank you, Coach Pop, El Jefe from now on. Looking forward to seeing what your next chapter brings. So, anyways, y'all, that was my little episode for today. Just want to express my feelings for the GOAT. But look, usually I have my outro, but look, there ain't no way I disrespected anybody with this. Just all I will say is, let's really start to respect greatness. And when I talk about my episode with Steph Curry, we'll talk about that too. But there are a lot of great players, great coaches, great people around this game, and the way we judge them in some respects are accurate based on the lives they chose to lead in terms of the profession they got into, right? But I also think there's a way, and one of the reasons why we started this show and this podcast, I should say, is because there's a way to criticize but respect the work that gets put into their craft. And that the results might not always be what we want, but it sure as hell isn't what they want. But we gotta at some point really get back to respecting greatness, because you never know when their time comes to hang it up. Whether that be on the playing side, the coaching side, the administrative side. And then you sit back and you think about the moments and you think about the times where you didn't really appreciate it and you took it for granted. And trust me, I took making the playoffs 20 years in a row for granted. Um, and now I've learned to appreciate the players. I've learned to appreciate the coaches more. I've learned to appreciate front office and the things that they do in terms of trying to field a competitive roster year in and year out. And so let's not take these folks for granted. Let's understand that they're human, and that let's also understand that as fans, we only have them for a limited amount of time. So we really need to start to appreciate the greatness on display when we encounter it. But that's all I have for today's show. I will be back again Tuesday, um, and that'll be it. Then got a kind of busy few weeks, so Try to get back on Tuesday, talk about the greatness of Wardell, Stephen Curry the second, and might try to do a double duty episode. Might try to hit one on Wednesday before I do the Boggy Ballers podcast on the WNBA. Getting excited for that regular season. And then we're going to take a mini break. We're going to come back during the NBA Finals, um, and then kind of go from there. So just kind of give you an idea of what the schedule is going to be looking like for us. So, man, y'all have a good one. Have a good weekend. Appreciate everybody's going to be watching this episode. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, keep those comments respectful. And again, in the episode description, your boy's going to have his cash app. If I be a blessing to me, I hope I be a blessing to you guys. But appreciate all the support that you guys do provide. Just tuning into this show. I didn't even realize it's been 5 years, almost 5 years since I started this thing. So um, it's really become more than just a hobby that's fun, but something that I look forward to doing. And so I appreciate this journey. So, man, y'all enjoy yourselves. Peace.